In a recent interview that the Breakfast Club had with 𝗘𝗥𝗧𝗧𝗧 or 𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗧, depending on if your Talib's parents or not.
Right.
Yeah. The idea of why Tyler, the Creator, not being in the big 3 or big 4 was brought up, just very, very, very briefly.
Yeah.
And Talib and Charlamagne talked about there being him not being a product of the industry, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just watch this short little clip and then discuss further.
I have Future in my Fantastic Four for this era. So it's Kendrick, Cole, Drake, Future. But then I sit back and think to myself, why isn't Tyler in that conversation?
Tyler's not a product of the industry, maybe. When I say product industry, I'm not saying that like a plant. What I'm saying is at a certain point, a button was pushed, the building got behind you. And the building absolutely got behind Future. And in Tyler's case, I feel like in his case, the building, his labels, they got behind him. But it's not, they didn't get behind him in the way that they would get behind an artist they would push to urban.
So again, right there that he's talking essentially about, the big 3. So we have the big 3 of Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, right? And Tyler never really kind of gets mentioned in that, regardless of what his quality of material gets put out there. Quality here is making the argument is because, well, he's pushing not within that said system but something else. Do you guys?
I definitely
agree. He said, one thing he said here that really jumped out to me was, he brought it all the way home when he said, Tyler is not one of the artists they would send up here to y'all, when he used the Breakfast Club as an example. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point, because we know who comes up, typically what artists come up to the Breakfast Club. I don't even know if Tyler's been up there. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but when he said that, it drove that point home, because he's definitely not an artist that I would see get pushed to a place like the Breakfast Club, so, but as it relates to Charlamagne's list or whatever, man, this kid is incredible. And as you go back through the catalog and you start looking at the consistency and the high quality of the product, I know we're going to get into the new one a little bit later on. Hey, I'm not mad at it.
It's really a thing where, like, once again, coming from the radio and record side, there's really been nothing that Tyler has put out to where they're like, you can take into a program director and say, this is a priority we can get behind as far as a single.
Right.
Okay. Because once again, right now, everything in the urban space, whatever, is single based.
Yeah.
That's why certain artists, you'll be like, why haven't they put out an album? Why are they going to put out an album? They got singles that are on the radio all the time. And Tyler has not, even as we listen to this new project that that we're going to talk about, I don't hear a single.
There's a single on there. There's a single on there.
Sticky? I think Sticky.
I don't
probably
think so.
My least favorite record on the album.
I don't think
that's
so.
a single.
Yeah.
I mean, just because it has Sexy Red and Glorilla on, I think maybe people will
and Wayne.
Wayne.
That's a single.
That's enough power for a single.
I think there are parts of it that need to be edited in a certain way.
We can wager that one. We can put a wager on that.
We'll put a wager on that one,
But not finish your point, though.
Sorry.
No, and so, like, there's a difference between when, like you said, the building getting behind something. Future always has something that I think that's the Atlantic, situation. I don't know. There's only 3 real labels anyway. So, whatever subsidiary he's under, they can always say, okay, this is what we're pushing the radio. This is what we're pushing the mix show. This is what we're pushing in the clubs, mainstream, urban. This is what we're pushing. We'll do a remix for, the Vegas type thing. And this is what we're going to push in the strip club.
It also helps that he's from Atlanta.
That's the part.
Atlanta's the new Motown / LA. Whatever goes through Atlanta, if it's hot in Atlanta, it's going to be hot elsewhere.
And he was bubbling down there anyway.
Yeah.
Before he got to
So when you talk about
pushed.
Tyler, you're not talking about some. It's kind of like, remember when the whole thing happened with DJ Khaled, and he was like, "This is just so mysterious, and nobody's heard it."
It's called albums that you actually hear the songs, not no mysterious and you never hear it.
It's because, and he was all in his feelings because it's like, wait a minute. The building is behind my record. I have this for the club. I've got this for mix show, and I've got this for the radio. How is this record that has none of those things on lock going to outsell my record?
Because when you're corny, I'm sorry, I got my feelings there. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, they actually touched on that a little bit in this interview. Talib actually mentioned that he said that might have been the moment where things actually kind of shifted, because Khaled legitimately, I mean, it was corny, but he legitimately could not understand how Tyler won at that moment. But Tyler won the internet.
He did.
And that, the internet was, Tyler has been winning at the internet since he's been out there. And I think that's the one difference. Like, radio and the internet are two completely different things, and they're both super powerful in their own mind. And so you have the legacy of the music industry and how it exists through radio, right? But the legacy of that via the radio, and then the internet is just something that's new and different.
Yeah.
And Tyler he skips all that.
Yeah. Tyler didn't subscribe to wanting to be that type of artist. Like if you follow Tyler's career from the beginning to where he is now, I mean, they started out as kids that just wanted to do these pop-up shows in LA. They got their buzz going. They were heavy on the internet. At one point in time, they were talking about they were new Wu-Tang, which we don't necessarily agree with that. But I mean, it was a very artistic collective. I mean, you got Tyler the Creator, you got Earl Sweatshirt, you got Frank Ocean, you got
Earl.
I said Earl.
Sweatshirt.
What's his name? The Internet.
Domino.
Sid. And then they were able to transition that into a TV show on Adult Swim. Yeah. I mean, I think they were throwing balls in different buckets. They weren't really worried about trying to push radio friendly. It didn't fit their image. Yeah. Like early Tyler, you would never, he don't want to be on the radio. Yeah. But he's since transitioned to an artist. So you see early Tyler, and then you see his growth over time, and then he starts telling you what his influences are, and you can hear the influences. But I mean, Tyler just wasn't in a position to ever want to even have that until, again, when Khaled mentioned something. I mean, obviously he was nominated for a Grammy, but Grammy does not mean radio success. Nope. Right. That means that your album was cohesive, it's musical, and some people liked it and enjoyed it and voted on it, and it was better than yours. So in turn, you were upset, and it actually got more people's eyes on Tyler. So it did the opposite thing. And if you've noticed, his releases have all included something that could possibly get on the radio, but I think this one has one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it just, back to the main point though, like Tyler is not a product of the industry.
No.
He intentionally kind of went around it and kind of said, I don't really care. So
because what Terry said,
and I think with that being said, I think that's probably part of the reason as to why he wouldn't be considered one of the big three, is because all the big three are people that are of the industry.
Exactly.
Within that, Tyler's, even though it's his fan base is massive, it's still niche. It's very specific.
Yep.
You know what I
mean? Kendrick was niche for a minute.
Yeah.
Until swimming pools happened.
Crossed over a little bit. Then he start getting a couple other radio joints and
he's on
getting
Interscope.
Features.
He's on
Interscope. Well, there's that too.
The Draco sign is definitely going to help.
And Interscope at one point was the biggest building in the hip hop industry.
Yeah. So you talk about a button being pushed. That's the difference.
But he had to follow that with the talent too.
True. And to Terry's point about the early stages of what Tyler did, it speaks right to what Lone said. He had that equity lasted on the internet, and that he cashed in a lot of coins off that because they've always been that way. So,
I mean, he still has stuff that only exists on the internet. Like if you want to buy certain things, you have to buy through his direct internet link. There's not any big commotion about it. He has cologne out. He has freaking shoes. He's got clothes,
clothing lines. Yep.
He doesn't really, publicize it like that. But those that are heads for Odd Future type stuff know exactly what's going on, and he's succeeding very well at doing that game.
I agree.
Shout out to Soulja Boy.
He was the first.
Yeah, he was, because he had like the Atari or something, right? What was it? What did he have?
So it was what do you call it? The Soldier game console or something like that.
Yeah, it was around before Atari.
Yeah, anybody ever get that?
I don't even know if that thing is a real.
I mean, you can get them on Temu.
No, it was real. I didn't know if he actually sent them to people.
What you say? You can get them on Temu? Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, all it is
AliExpress. Yeah, all this is a little.
You can buy it at Aldi's.
System on a chip that has a bunch of emulators.
Yo, that's petty.